Hey, Bills Mafia. We know there's only one topic every day. All Bills, all the time. And now Matt Beauvais and Sal Capaccio are going really deep, talking Bills all year long, because it's always game day in Buffalo.
Okay, first things first. If you're watching on the video side and you just cannot stand the New York Yankees, you can just take your hand and put it right over my logo right there. Okay, because I'm going to wear it tonight, and it's always game day in Buffalo, whenever you're watching this. Because my Yanks are in the World Series, man, all right? And it's cool, and it's awesome, and I'm really happy about that. You don't have to be happy. You can hate it, but you can also just listen. You can go to YouTube, at Sal Sports, turn the show on, just listen to it. You don't have to watch it, all right? Nobody's forcing you to do that, or you can enjoy it with me and say, you know what, Sal, I'll root for your Yankees against the LA Dodgers. Welcome into always game day in Buffalo. Enough baseball. We'll get to that a little bit, I'm sure, as we move on here, as the World Series creeps closer. The Bills have a big game in Seattle this weekend. Sal Capaccio here, and no Matt Beauvais on this edition of the podcast because Matt's already heading off to the Great Northwest. He's actually going to enjoy a little extra time out there, so good for him to be able to do that. He'll come at you a little bit later in the week, and of course, we'll both be along after the game to wrap up what happened in Seattle. A few things we need to get to. The Bills, an injury update, first and foremost. We have still not heard anything yet on linebacker Terrell Bernard. Sean McDermott met with the media on Monday and said that they still need more information, more tests to see where that goes. That would be a huge, huge loss for the Bills against a Seattle team that obviously can really run the ball, and they've been throwing the ball really well as well. They have a very good offense, but if Terrell Bernard doesn't play, that's a significant loss for the Bills. However, I'd tell you that after the game, I did see Terrell in the locker room. He did not have a boot or crutches or anything like that. He was walking around. So hopefully the news is good. We'll hear from Sean McDermott on Wednesday at his normal noon press conference before the team hits the field at 12:30 p.m. Another injury, Curtis Samuel, wide receiver, got hurt in the second series of the game. More tests on him are required as well. So that was a shoulder injury. We'll see where that goes with Curtis Samuel. We'll get the injury update. Other than that, I think the Bills should be pretty healthy coming out of the game against the Tennessee Titans. That would be significant, those guys, but otherwise, no other injuries of note. Dorian Williams, yes, but he was probable to return. They just had the game in hand, so he didn't. So shouldn't be an issue with Dorian Williams. Let's get the side of the Seattle Seahawks, though. Let's do that because here on It's Always Game Day in Buffalo, we love to bring in special guests from time to time to talk about the other team or the National Football League. And right now, at this time, I'm going to bring in from KOMO Sports. That's right, KOMO, Niko Tamurian, who joins me here on It's Always Game Day in Buffalo. Niko, what's going on, man?
Sal, thanks for having me. I'm a little upset my fellow Buff State alum Matt isn't here, but that's okay as long as he's enjoying the Northwest.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for having me on, man. I really appreciate
you. You got it. I'm going to play with this thing. My engineer. There we go. There we go. See, my producer is not here. I'm hitting these buttons, so now it looks a little better like it's supposed to. We're just the guys that talk. Man. You know the feeling, right?
Exactly. This happens to me a lot. And I hit the wrong button and wrong name, all that stuff. Absolutely.
I love that you can just go by KOMO Sports, KOMO. I love it. It's just a clean, slick name right there. You worked in Syracuse. That's how we got to know each other, but you went to school literally just a few blocks where I'm sitting here in Studio Capaccio at Buffalo State, now called Buffalo State University. What was that like for you, being in Buffalo, covering Syracuse sports, and then transitioning out to the Great Northwest?
It's interesting because I was in, Central or Western New York my whole life, born and raised in Syracuse, went to Buff State I'm still getting used to the university part of that. For
there
sure.
You go.
But fond memories. I will always love Central and Western New York. My wife and I fell in love with the Pacific Northwest. You'll laugh at this quick, Sal. I'll do the 10-second version of it. Our honeymoon started in Seattle. We were supposed to drive all the way down the coast. We had 3 weeks to wing it, but we only made it to the Bay Area, halfway through California for about 12 hours because we loved Seattle so much. And spent too much, so to speak, time here. We kept coming back every year except the COVID year. Next thing you know, sports director opening at KOMO. I got it. My wife's at one of the other stations in town and meant to be in that regard. Always love upstate New York, but we're so thrilled to be here in Seattle. What a cool place. What a beautiful – you see it behind me. That's a live look, by the way. It's from our live tower camera, so to speak, and Mount Rainier's. Yeah, I'll kind of get my finger. Mount Rainier's right there, so the mountain is out is the term here. And unfortunately, for any Bills Mafia coming out, I don't think it'll be out this weekend out of clouds and rain and your more typical October Seattle weather. But it's a beautiful place. The Needles right here, and KOMO is like right about there if I have my geography down. So cool place to be. But come on, always love upstate New York. Happy you have that hoodie on. And when I'm not pulling for the Hawks, I'm rooting for my AFC team, which would be the Bills.
So 2 quick questions before we get into the Seahawks. Number one, is your wife in sports or news? She's in news, right?
She's in news. She's at the NBC station near King 5. She does anchors news.
Awesome,
and
man. Good for her.
Yeah, but she knows her sport. She's a D1 cross country runner for the Cornhuskers back in the day. And oh God, she's going to kill me for saying back in the day, isn't she? But,
yeah, for sure. No doubt. Yeah. Let me ask you about when you were at Buff State. Did you have a go-to place? Because I remember back in the day, there were a couple places we would go. Grant Central Station, which is right down the street here. It's gone now. And so is Reagan's, which is gone. But those were the two that I know that even though I was a student there, when I was home for the summers or whatever, we'd go there.
Yeah. Well, Panos was the place.
Yes. I love it.
You know, yeah. And gosh, because it was open all hours of the night and the food was really good. I remember the last time I went there was when Syracuse played in the NCAA tournament in Buffalo in 2014, got knocked off by Dayton, which was not the best memory, but got to go to Pano. So it was a good trip overall. But yeah, very fond memories of that. Some great professors in that comms department at Buff State too. Always, you know, I think once a year I still look at their schedule, the football team, see how they're doing. And, you know, when Jerry Boys was still there, always seeing how he was doing. And is Coach Ansari still with the basketball team?
I don't know. I'm not positive. I know Coach Boyce is not with the football team anymore. Right, I do know that. They also have a new field, a turf field that came in, several years ago. So there's a lot of things going on. It's literally right down the street from us all the time. So we always pass by it every day. It's a great area to live in. That's where we live, right near Buffalo State here. So we love it here as well. And, you know, I know that you're loving it out there in Seattle, covering all of Seattle sports, but the Seahawks here, a team that is in transition with a new head coach. They started off really hot. They lost a couple of games, but back on the winning track against the Atlanta Falcons. This is a team that we don't see a lot, obviously, for the Buffalo Bills. It's not a division team or even a conference team. So just kind of give us a broad overview of what are they doing well and what are they struggling with this year so far?
Boy, oh boy. I mean, everybody here in Seattle was so excited. The Mike Macdonald era gets underway with 3 straight wins, and then you lose 3 straight games. Now, looking at it, what I'm suspecting happened. Okay, the first 3 games, you're talking about Bo Nix's first career start, first game of the year. Certainly he has caught traction since then, right? But then you needed overtime to beat the Patriots, who we've seen are not that good. And then you beat Miami here, but that was their first game without Tua, and they're still not very good, right? So maybe the 3-0 start was a product of the opponent. But also on the other side of that, the 3 straight losses, the Lions, Giants, and 49ers, maybe it's a product of, okay, I think the Lions exposed something that the Giants and Niners were able to take advantage of, because here we are. That was 3 games in 10 days. And for that Lions game, the Seahawks were without their entire starting defensive line, interior and the edges. Like, it was crazy. So you have to factor those sorts of things in it. But the reason I think that was the case is because they had a couple extra days. They played the Niners on a Thursday night, and then they didn't play Atlanta until this past Sunday. And they went into Georgia and rocked the Falcons. I mean, 3-touchdown win. Everything was humming the second half. The defense was lights out. You know, Geno still didn't have a lot of time to throw the ball, but when he did, he was surgical about it. And so what I think is Mike Macdonald, being the new head coach, is the word the players use is scientist. He's very cerebral. Even when you talk to him, he's a really cool guy, down to earth, young guy, 37 years old. But you also get that sense this guy is thinking about 8 things while he's talking to you. Like, he's that cerebral, right? And I think that maybe it was just those couple extra days that helped them get right. Certainly they got right on the injury front. And I think now, both health and both schematically, if you want to go that way, I think they're starting to hit their stride, and just in time for what is easily their toughest test of the season, in my opinion.
All right. So what have they struggled with so far this season that's been the concerns that have popped up?
Yeah, my thing with this team is the offensive line is a really rough thing. You know, you've got some injuries. Abe Lucas, who was a 3rd-round pick a couple of years ago, he's a local guy. He's from the Seattle area, played for the Washington State Cougars. He's been dealing with nagging injuries since the middle of 2023. He's still not back, and that's left a bit of an issue there. And they tried to address it in the draft with a 3rd-round pick this year, a kid out of UConn, Christian Haynes. But the point I'm trying to make is the line is in really rough shape. You know, your center, Connor Williams, he signed off the street in training camp. He's been good. Against the Falcons, they brought in Michael Jarrell. If you don't know him, that's okay. Not many do. He was a 6th-round pick, the rookie out of Division II Findlay. Okay, so that's kind of the extent that the Seahawks were going. And they even signed a former Bill, and of course with the Eagles as well, future Hall of Famer Jason Peters, off the street, 42, out of retirement. They did the same thing last year, and he gave them some good games. My point is, when you're starting a 6th-round guy out of a Division II school, you're starting him in his first action, really. You're signing JP that way. You're dealing with injuries. George Fant is a guy they signed in the offseason. He's been injured. That's a lot of trouble. And it's shown. Geno Smith has had no time to throw the ball. And that's a credit to Geno that he leads the league in passing yards despite being under duress just about every play. It really is amazing. And, you know, Geno gets sometimes a bit of a bad rap because of the whole, you know, it didn't work out early in his career, but he'll be the first to admit, he's like, man, I'm in my 30s now. I'm mature. I get this. And you see that he's a leader with this team. So that would be a strength. But no, but the issue is he doesn't have a lot of time to throw. And the offensive line is patchwork. It's a work in progress in every sense of the word. And it's a huge problem. I mean, the Giants came in here, and yes, their offense moved the ball on a better defense. But the reality was the Seahawks couldn't counterpunch because the Giants were in the backfield constantly. I mean, Geno was on the turf so often. So that is, boy, oh boy, if the Bills can generate pass rush, this thing, it might get ugly, or at the very least, it could be the decisive factor.
All right. I know there's a big injury to DK Metcalf that everybody's talking about. Give us the latest on DK Metcalf. Do you think that he could play in this game? And if he does play, how compromised could he actually be? And also, I believe Tariq Woolen, the outstanding cornerback, is also dealing with an injury.
Yeah, Reek has missed the last couple games with an ankle sprain. And you know how high ankle sprains are. And it's a high ankle sprain. Boy, oh boy, sometimes you think a guy's coming back and then they're out for 4 games. So that's a work in progress. He didn't even travel with the team. He was posting on Instagram during the game that he was watching it and stuff like that. It was cool to see. We love Reek. DK, that's an interesting case. So he's got an MCL strain with a T. So, you know, they don't think it's serious at all. However, Mike McDonald, the last time he said an injury wasn't serious, Kenneth Walker, the star running back of this team, missed 2 games. So relative term, so to speak.
Yeah, sure.
You know, and so DK not being there is everything, in my opinion, for this team. It's not just the numbers he puts up. It's the attention he commands. It's, you know, you watch every play, and whether it's one of the other receivers, the second-year guy, Jackson Smith and Jigba, the Seahawks mainstay, Tyler Lockett, even a back out of the backfield, you know, those lanes are open for these guys to catch passes because DK commands so much attention, okay? He's emerged into a leader for this team. If he's out and he's only missed 1 game in his career, that's a huge issue for this team, not just in what he can do being a freak athlete and elevating to catch some, you know, jump balls for Geno, or he's got several huge home run plays this year and a couple that were called back because of a hold by that offensive line. But if he can't give it a go, that's a huge issue. Now, if we're talking about him being compromised, here's a point I would say is that it feels like more often than not, as the week leads up to game day, whatever game it is, that DK is on the injury report. He's limited in practice. He's got this, he's got that. Yet he somehow always finds a way to the field, and you would be none the wiser if you watched him play. Tough as nails kind of guy. So if he's out there, I suspect even if he's something like 80%, you're not going to really notice that much of a difference, to be honest with you. And if he's out there at 80%, maybe you see Jackson Smith and Jigba or Tyler Lockett, or even Jake Bobo, another second-year guy that they like, big body at 6'4". You're going to see one of those guys get a lot more looks, and they're all capable. They are all guys that Geno is confident in. So if DK is healthy enough to go, and Mike McDonald's exact words were, we know DK, you know DK, he's going to do everything humanly possible to be out there. So the hope is he can give it a go. And if he's able to even just, like I said, be a fraction of that, it'll be effective in some way for the Seahawks.
On the other side of the ball, I'm looking at the numbers. These two teams are 28th and 29th, respectively, Seattle and Buffalo. Not great. And yards per play on the ground allowed. And then per game, Seahawks allowing 146 yards a game rushing. The Bills 132 yards rushing per game. Is it been that bad? Is it a product of circumstance? I can tell you here in Buffalo, there's a lot of concern about, you know, big runs they've given up. First play against Derrick Henry, of course, right? They gave up a couple big runs against the Houston Texans. The Bills are generally bend, don't break in that department. They're kind of willing to sacrifice some run because they're structured more to stop the pass, but it does become a concern sometimes. What about in Seattle? Is this something that's a major concern?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, stopping the run's actually been an issue here for a couple of years, and that was a huge thing with fans because before you had Pete Carroll, who was, you know, famous for run and stop the run, the old Marv Levy line, right? But they struggled with it significantly. And so they used a first-round draft pick on Byron Murphy this year out of Texas, and he's been really good. So, but I think it's a mixed bag. I think it's a little bit still finding their way, but I also think there were circumstances. You were missing your entire front four against the Lions. You know, Murphy just made it back for the Falcons game. Big Cat, as they call him, Leonard Williams missed a couple games. Uchenna Nwosu, one of the edge rushers, is one of the leaders of this team. He's still out. He came back briefly for that Giants game, and he had to leave, and he's on IR now. So they're still dealing with some things. So I think it's a little bit of both. What we saw in the Atlanta game, and who knows if it translates to Buffalo, but it's one thing to go on, is the first half, Bijan Robinson looked really good. But then in the second half, whether it's finding their footing because these guys are finally healthy, at least a lot of them, they really did shut down Atlanta, everything offensively, to the point where you were able to win 34-14. So, yes, I think it's a bit circumstantial, Yes, I think they're still finding their way. Mike McDonald said that for this whole team. He's like, guys, when they lost the third in a row to get to 3-3, he's like, hey, listen, this is all new. He's like, we're still figuring this out. Like, I give him kudos for admitting that. When you think about it, yes, he's a defensive genius. We've seen that in Baltimore, but it's the first time he's been a head coach at any level. Your offensive coordinator, Ryan Grubb, did amazing things with the Washington Huskies the last 2 years. It's why Michael Penix and Roma Odunze were first-round top 10 picks, right? But, it's the first time he's called plays in the NFL. So there's a lot of talent, but there's a lot of new things. And maybe by mid-October, you're hoping they're finding their stride, and hopefully that's what we saw against the Falcons. But a lot of work in progress with this football team.
Finally, Niko, you heard me talk about the Bills middle linebacker, Terrell Bernard, dealing with an injury. We don't know if he's going to be able to play it. We'll see as the week goes on. There'll be a significant loss. But in Seattle, a former Bill, obviously Tyrell Dodson is there. How has Tyrell's season been unfolding for the Seahawks?
Oh, we love Tyrell. Isn't he so fun to talk to?
Yeah, he's great. I can't wait to catch up with him. It's actually one of my favorite Bills to talk to in the time he was here. He was always engaging. He'd kind of seek me out to say hello. That was the kind of guy he always was in the locker, which was great.
Absolutely. Totally. And he's been extra important here. And I don't have to tell you the story, right? How he kind of emerged and played himself into this contract that he got with the Seahawks.
Yep.
He's been a big leader for this team. There's a lot of talent on that side of the ball for the Seahawks team, but you're talking about a lot of guys that are pretty young. I love the corners, Reek Woolen and Devin Witherspoon, but they're in their third and second years as pros, respectively. I talked about some of those edge rushers. You have Boye Mafe, a linebacker, Derek Hall, that has been good, but they're also second and third year guys. So this is a defense that has a lot of talent, but it's very young talent. So guys like Dodson, in the secondary, the former Giant Julian Love, and then on the front line, another former Giant, Leonard Williams. They've been really big-time leaders out there, vocal guys. And you know Dodson, he's always talking smack and saying the funniest things out there. But at the same time, having that vocal leader like that, because Williams is more of a lead by example. Love is similar in that way. So Dodson's the guy that's got a pretty loud voice in that locker room. And it's helping the defense that, again, yeah, it had struggles, but it was struggles, with it forced by injury, which was making some young guys have to get out there and get some significant minutes, guys that were drafted later in the draft this year, or guys that were practice squad for most of the year and things of that sort. So he's been invaluable, obviously incredibly likable, but he's backing it up with leadership and play on the field too.
All right. And then finally, I always forget sometimes to ask people about special teams, but they obviously matter, especially if it could be a little bit of a wetter game. And here in Buffalo, dealing with an inconsistent Tyler Bass, they signed another kicker last week in the practice squad. Then Bass had a nice game, went 6 for 6. So that looked pretty good. But how about on the special team side of things, whether it's kicking or punting or the return game?
Yeah. So here's the thing. And Sal, I don't know if you know this about me. I have my meteorology degree too. Did you know that?
I did not know that. That's amazing.
Went back to school a couple years ago. God, I hope I never have to use it because I love talking sports, but I love it. So I'm going to put the meteorologist hat on. And this is what you're going to see Sunday, unless the forecast changes, which it does often in Seattle. Maybe not quite as changeable as Buffalo. We don't get snow as much, which is great. Once a year, and it melts by noon. It's kind of crazy. But the reason I'm bringing that up is Sunday's forecast. You're talking about low to mid 50s. And when it says rain, it's this really fine mist here in Seattle. It's not a downpour deluge often like you would see in like a heavy rainstorm in the out east. And the reason I bring that up is because it makes everything slippery. The field, like it's almost misleading because you look in the air, it's this fine mist. It doesn't bother you that much. Like, the thing in Seattle is you don't use umbrellas. That you're definitely from out of town if you use an umbrella. Just take that mist like a man or whatever, right?
Right.
But it can have a huge effect on games. That field turf is going to be slippery. You're talking about a holder trying to put it down for Bass, who's struggling and getting his footing. It could be an issue. I would not be surprised if that kind of rears its ugly head, just because it can be a nuisance, and it's also very misleading. It makes things much more slippery than you would think. So that's what I'm looking at. As far as special teams are concerned, though, as far as the X's and O's part of it, Seahawks have been up and down. Jason Myers is a consistent kicker. I think his only misses have been from long range. They have a kickoff return for a touchdown against the Niners. They were down 23-3 the Niners, and Laviska Shenault has been around a few years, and he's returning kicks and returning one back to the house. But, they also had a chance to tie the Giants and force overtime, and the field goal was blocked and returned for a touchdown. So the Seahawks special teams have been inconsistent as well. Boy, oh boy, this is the kind of game where if the Seahawks are healthy, I think it's going to come down to the wire. And it could be one of those plays, one of those miscues that makes the difference in a game like this. No question about it.
Well, a lot to stay on top of this week. Injuries on both sides. And, of course, the Bills and Seahawks both trying to get another win to stay in first place in their respective divisions. Our guy, goes to Buffalo State. He's grew up in Syracuse fan, Niko Tamurian of KOMO Sports in Seattle. Can't wait to see you this weekend, my man. Great to catch up with you. Thanks for joining us here. And it's always Game Day in Buffalo. And of course, I know you'd love to be here with Matt, but we'll make sure that you say hi and you'll see him in the press box anyway.
Definitely. And one last tip for Bills Mafia coming out here. Have some seafood. Amazing here.
Yep.
And go on Facebook and look up the Bills Backers group. There's like a group of 3,000 Bills fans here in Seattle. They have a big party the day before. Lumen Field isn't the best tailgate atmosphere. It's kind of scrunched next to T-Mobile Park, the Mariners Stadium. But they have all the spots. So look up Bills Backers on Facebook. Really cool for if you're coming out here and you want some fellow Bills Mafia fans to hang out with.
Yeah, and don't just treat their tables okay, Bills Mafia. That's all we ask.
I'm sure we're gonna break them too.
No doubt about it. Niko, thanks a lot, buddy. Great catching up. We appreciate it, and we're gonna see you this weekend.
Always great to see you, man. Thanks for having me.
All right, you got it. Till next time, and it's always Game Day in Buffalo. Thanks to Niko Tamurian for joining, and of course, thanks a lot to Mike Robier producing the show. We'll talk to you a little bit later in the week. Matt will come back at you from Seattle, then we'll talk after the game.